You sold this land for 8,417,000, Madam Sad. Stop pretending you are the victim. The lawyer's voice cracked across the Abuja courtroom. Sad Williams stood alone in her burnt orange dress, wrists bruised from custody, while Mercy Okonkwo watched behind her lawyers in a ruby-red suit. Then the forged contract was raised. Your signature is here. Your account received the money. Yet you refused to surrender the property. That is fraud. Laughter broke out. Sade's lips trembled. That is not my signature. Mercy leaned forward. Then whose is it? A ghost's? The courtroom erupted again, but as the judge lifted his hand, the heavy doors burst open. 3 men stepped inside. One carried a legal file. One held a forensic document case. The third stood beside a frightened witness. The man in the cobalt blue suit stared at Sade, tears filling his eyes. Mama, he said, we are sorry. It took us 25 years to find you. Do not leave this story now. What happened next exposed more than a land scam. Tell us where you are watching from and your local time. And subscribe, because the truth is only beginning. 7 weeks earlier, nobody in Kubwa would have believed that Said Williams would stand in court, accused of stealing land she had paid for with 23 years of sweat. That Saturday morning had begun with music. Not loud music. Sade did not like noise that made people shout before they could hear themselves think. It was soft highlife coming from a small speaker tied with blue ribbon and placed on a plastic chair near the entrance of Open Stitch Cooperative. At exactly 9:17 a.m. on March 14, 18 women stood in 2 uneven rows inside the workshop. The youngest was 19. The oldest was 52. Each woman wore a simple cream blouse she had sewn herself, with the narrow strip of coarse fabric around the sleeve. The room smelled of pressed cotton, machine oil, and jollof rice, warming in 2 silver coolers outside. On the wall behind them hung a hand-painted sign, Open Stitch Cooperative. Learn a skill. Keep your records. Respect every hand. Sade stood beneath it in her burnt orange dress and pale turquoise head tie. The dress was 4 years old. She had repaired the left sleeve twice and hidden the second seam with orange beads. Around her right wrist was a faded yellow measuring tape. She wore it like some people wore gold. My daughters, she said, looking at the 18 graduates, today is not the day your learning ends. Today is the day excuses end. The women laughed. Sade raised one finger. If a customer brings expensive lace and you cut it carelessly, do not blame Nipa. More laughter. If you collect deposit, write receipt. If you borrow machine, write it down. If somebody says, trust me, no need for paper, tell that person trust is not allergic to paper. The laughter became applause. At the back of the workshop, 37 plastic chairs had been arranged for families and neighbors. Most were occupied. Some people stood outside the open windows, fanning themselves with program sheets. Sade had spent Lanta 43,700 on the small ceremony. It was more than she could afford. She had bought certificates, 2 bags of rice, drinks and enough fabric to give every graduate 1 meter as a symbol of a new beginning. She had refused to buy a new dress for herself. Madam Sad, one of the graduates called. You will cry today, oh. God forbid, Sade replied. I did not train all of you, so you can turn my workshop into River Niger. The room burst into laughter again. Then the music stopped. Not because the speaker failed. Because 3 dark sport utility vehicles had stopped outside the gate. The first vehicle carried 4 uniformed police officers. The second carried 2 court bailiffs and 3 men in white shirts with Cresthaven Properties printed across the chest. The last vehicle carried Mercy Okonkwo. Mercy stepped down slowly. She wore a ruby-red trouser suit that caught the morning light like fresh blood. Her heels were black and sharp. A gold chain rested against her throat. She did not look at the women gathered outside. She looked at the land, then she smiled. Sola Ibe came out behind her in a dark emerald suit. He carried a brown file and a folded court order protected inside clear plastic. The applause inside the workshop died one clap at a time. Sade moved towards the door. "Good morning," she said. "Hope no problem?" Mercy removed her sunglasses. "There is a very serious problem," she said. "You are standing on property that no longer belongs to you." A murmur passed through the room. Sade glanced at the police officers, then at the families watching from the road. "Madam Mercy, we have discussed this matter. I did not sell this place." Mercy's smile disappeared. "That was before you decided to behave like poverty has made your memory useless." One of the graduates gasped. Sade lowered her voice. "Please, today is their graduation. Whatever document you brought, let us discuss it like adults." Sola unfolded the order. "This is an interim possession order," he announced. Cresthaven Properties is authorized to secure the premises pending determination of its claim. Kubwa people understood some legal English and feared the rest. At once, the gathering shifted. Relatives pulled closer to the women they had come to celebrate. A supplier, who had delivered soft drinks, began counting his empty crates as though he had suddenly remembered another appointment. Sade held out her hand. "Let me see it." Sola did not give her the paper. He held it high enough for others to see, but far enough that she could not read the small print. Mercy looked around the workshop. "So, this is the famous cooperative?" she asked. 37 old machines, leaking roof, cracked walls, and you people are carrying her on your head as if she built a university." "Madam," one graduate said, "this place helped us." Mercy turned. "Who asked you?" The woman fell silent. Mercy pointed at the rows of sewing machines. "Remove everything belonging to the company. Seal the doors. Anyone who obstructs will answer to the police." Sade stepped between the men and the nearest machine. "No. Those machines belong to the cooperative. Some were donated. Some were bought by contribution. You cannot carry them." Sola opened the brown file. According to the schedule attached to the transfer, fixtures on the land formed part of the sale. "What transfer?" Sadie demanded. He pulled out a document bearing a blue seal. "This one." Sadie stared at the first page. Her full name was there. Sade Arinola Williams. Her date of birth was there. Her national identification number was there. The plot description was correct down to the survey beacon numbers. And at the bottom of the final page was a signature that looked almost like hers. Almost. Her knees weakened. "What is this?" she whispered. Mercy's voice rose so that every phone camera could record it. "It is the deed you signed after collecting the 8,417,000 from Cresthaven Properties." The crowd reacted at once. 8 million naira. For many people standing there, it was not just money. It was a number large enough to rewrite their opinion before any evidence had finished speaking. Sade looked up sharply. "I did not collect 1 naira from you." Mercy laughed. "So now the bank is lying, the land registry is lying, the witnesses are lying, and only a roadside tailor is telling the truth? I am not a roadside tailor." The words came out before Sade could stop them. Her voice was quiet, but the room heard. Mercy took one step closer. "You sew blouses under zinc roof and teach women who cannot pay fees. Do not use big grammar to decorate suffering. Know your level." Silence fell. Sade's face changed. Not with shame, with pain. She looked at the 18 certificates arranged on the table. She looked at the women who had spent 6 months learning to measure fabric, calculate profit, keep customer records, and sit upright before people who spoke to them as if poverty had removed their names. Then she looked back at Mercy. "This workshop may not look important to you, Sadie said. But no human being becomes useless because the roof above her is cheap. Mercy's eyes hardened. Officer, arrest her. Even Sola turned slightly. The senior officer cleared his throat. Madam, we have a petition. We need her statement concerning obtaining money under false pretense and fraudulent conversion. Sadie stared at him. You came to arrest me? We need you to cooperate. On their graduation day? The officer did not answer. Two constables moved forward. The first touched Sadie's elbow. She pulled back, not violently, but with the instinct of a person whose dignity had already been grabbed too many times that morning. I will follow you, she said. Do not drag me. A phone camera moved closer. Mercy noticed it and raised her voice. Let everybody record. People should learn that wearing wrapper and calling yourself Mama does not cancel fraud. One constable brought out handcuffs. The metal clicked. Sade looked at the officer's face. Is that necessary? He hesitated. Sola spoke quickly. The complaint involves over 8 million naira and disputed property. Secure her. The cuffs closed around Sade's wrists. The measuring tape remained trapped beneath the metal. A graduate began to cry. Another shouted, She did not steal anything. Mercy turned on her. Then pay the money she collected. Nobody replied. The men in Cresthaven shirts began unplugging machines. One machine fell against a table. A framed photograph of the first graduating class dropped to the floor. The glass cracked across Sade's smiling face. She saw it. Her shoulders shook once. That was all. As the officers led her outside, the rice remained warm in the coolers. The certificates remained unsigned. 18 women in cream blouses stood without moving, while their graduation became evidence in a public humiliation. At the police vehicle, Sad stopped. She turned to the graduates. Take your certificates, she said. One officer pulled gently at her arm. Madam, enter the vehicle. Saded kept speaking. Do not leave them there. You worked for them. Carry them. Then she entered the vehicle. By 11:06 a.m., the first video appeared online. By 2:43 p.m., it had been shared 18,700 times. The caption did not ask whether she was guilty. It announced it. Old Tylor sells land, collects 4 million, refuses to leave. Another post called her grandma scammer. A third account cut away every part where Sade denied signing the deed. It kept only the handcuffs, Mercy's red suit, and the figure, less at 8,417,000. By evening, strangers who had never entered Open Stitch Cooperative were debating Sade's character with great confidence. She looks innocent, but these old people can be sharp. Why did she collect the money? Women like this use pity to cover greed. 8 million? She should enjoy prison. The truth had not yet worn its shoes. The lie had already crossed Abuja. At 7:28 p.m., Sade sat on a wooden bench inside a holding room at the divisional police station. The air was warm and sour. Her wrists were swollen where the handcuffs had pressed against the measuring tape. A female officer brought her a sachet of water. Drink, Ma. Saad held it but did not tear the corner. My bag, she said. Please, my brown bag. There is medicine inside. What medicine? Blood pressure. The officer frowned. They did not list medicine among your items. Sade closed her eyes. She had left home at 6:10 that morning. She had eaten half a boiled egg while arranging chairs. She had planned to eat after the certificates were presented. Now the rice was probably cold. The workshop was sealed, and somewhere in a brown file was a signature made to look like hers. At 8:14 p.m., Sola eBay appeared outside the interview room with 2 officers. He placed a statement form before Sade. This matter can end quickly, he said. Acknowledge that you received the money. Agree to hand over possession. Cresthaven will ask the complainant to consider withdrawing the criminal petition. Sede stared at him. You want me to confess to what I did not do? I want you to be practical. You arrested me at my student's graduation. That ceremony was unfortunate timing. You brought cameras. We did not invite members of the public to record. You stood there while she called me a thief. Sola sighed. Madam Sad, let me advise you as somebody who understands the law. Emotion does not defeat documents. You cannot cry your way out of a signed deed. Sade leaned back. I did not ask you to understand my tears. Good. I asked you to show me the original document. His expression changed, only for a second. But she saw it. Sade had spent 41 years looking at people while they lied about fabric. Customers lied about measurements. Suppliers lied about quantity. Apprentices lied about who broke a needle plate. A face often moved before a mouth chose its answer. The copy is sufficient for this discussion, Sola said. No, he pushed the statement closer. Sign. Saad looked at the blank line, then at him. You people have already borrowed my signature once. I will not lend you another one. Sola's jaw tightened. You are making this difficult for yourself. I am managing. You may spend the night here. I am still managing. He gathered the papers. As he reached the door, Sade spoke again. Barrister. Sola turned. Truth may be slow because it checks where it is putting its feet. But it does not get tired. For the first time that day, Sola did not smile. He left. Sade spent the night on the wooden bench. At 3:21 a.m. She woke with her head against the wall and one hand closed around the faded measuring tape. The holding room was quiet except for a ceiling fan clicking above her. Click, 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 like an old machine, trying not to stop. She thought of the cooperative. She thought of the cracked photograph. And without warning, she remembered 3 hungry young men standing beneath another leaking roof 25 years earlier. Back then, she had almost nothing. Still, she had opened the door. On September 18, 1999, Sade Williams was 39 years old, recently widowed, and tired in a way sleep could not repair. Her husband, Peter, had died 11 months earlier after a short illness that consumed their savings before it consumed him. The landlord still wanted rent. Fabric suppliers still wanted payment. Customers still wanted their clothes before Sunday service. Grief did not cancel invoices. Sadie's first workshop stood behind a crowded mechanic yard near Guagualada. It was one long room with 4-foot piddle machines, 2 electric machines that worked only when power agreed, and a narrow store at the back. The zinc roof leaked in 6 places. Sade knew all 6. That evening, rain had started at 6:42 and refused to stop. Water drummed on the roof. Mud gathered outside the doorway. Sade was bending over a navy blue kaftan when she heard someone knock against the metal frame. Not once. 3 times. She looked up. 3 young men stood beneath the narrow awning. The tallest one wore a brown shirt blackened by smoke. His lower lip was split. The second carried a canvas bag with one broken strap. The third had wrapped a piece of cloth around his right palm. All 3 were wet. Good evening, Ma, the tallest said. Sade did not answer immediately. She had heard about the fire that afternoon. A wooden training shed behind the motor parts market had burned after fuel stored near a generator caught fire. Nobody died, but the apprentices who slept there lost their clothes, tools, and small savings. You people came from that workshop? She asked. Yes, Ma, the one with the canvas bag replied. The place that burnt. What do you want? The third young man looked behind him at the rain. Only to stay under this roof till morning. Sade studied them. How old are you? 19, said the tallest. 21, said the second. 18, said the third. Names. Kola Nwosu. Victor Adiemi. Uch Johnson. Saad looked at the back room. It contained 2 sacks of fabric scraps, a wooden cutting board, 1 kerosene stove, and a thin sleeping mat she sometimes used when work kept her late. There was no extra bed. There was barely extra air. "You can remain outside under the awning," she said. "When the rain stops, you will go." "Thank you, Ma," Kola replied quickly. Sada returned to the kaftan. She stitched 3 lines, stopped. Unpicked 1 line because her hand had moved wrongly. Outside, Victor coughed. Uche whispered something she could not hear. Sade squeezed her face. She hated when compassion interrupted work. Compassion did not know time. It came when rent was due. It came when the pot was small. It came when common sense was already warning a person not to carry strangers on her head. She stood. "Have you eaten?" The 3 men looked at one another. That was answer enough. Sade went to the back and lifted the lid of her cooking pot. Inside was rice and beans. She had planned to eat over 2 days. She counted the portions with her eyes. 1 for that evening. 1 for the next afternoon. Maybe 1 small spoon left for breakfast if she added water. She brought out 4 enamel plates. "Come inside," she said. The young men hesitated. "I will not call you twice." They entered. Sade served the rice equally, not because there was enough, because hunger did not need to know who owned the pot. Kola stared at his plate. "Ma, take some from mine." "You want to insult my measurement?" "No, Ma, then eat." They ate in silence at first. Victor used his left hand because of the cloth around his right palm. Uch swallowed too quickly and began to cough. Sate pushed the sachet of water towards him. "Slow down. Food is not running away." After the plates were empty, Sade sat opposite them. "You can sleep here for 7 days," she said. All 3 looked up. "7?" Victor asked. "Yes, not 8. Not forever." "7. Ma, we can work," Kolsa said. "You will work. This is not hotel." She pointed at them 1 by 1. "You will sweep. You will fetch water. You will help carry materials. Nobody will touch a customer's money. Nobody will bring trouble. Nobody will lie." Uche nodded. Sade lifted 1 finger. "And if you borrow anything, write it down?" Victor glanced around the small room. "Even ordinary scissors?" "Especially ordinary scissors. Big things do not disappear every day. Small things destroy trust 1 by 1. That was how 7 days began. 7 days became 3 weeks. Then 6 months. Kola found temporary work at a printing shop and spent evenings reading every paper that entered Sadie's workshop. He liked terms and conditions. He questioned receipts. He once argued with a fabric supplier for 20 minutes because the quantity written on the invoice did not match the rolls delivered. "Leave it," Sade told him. "It is only half a yard." Kola shook his head. "Ma, half a yard from 10 customers is 5 yards. Sade looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Good. Your eye is not sleeping." Victor had patience in his fingers. He could look at 2 handwritten notes and notice what others missed. One afternoon, Sade asked him to arrange old customer receipts. He separated 3 from the pile. "These ones were not written by the same person," he said. Sade laughed. "All were written by me. No, Ma." She stopped laughing. Victor pointed at the figures. "See how number 7 crosses here? Yours does not cross, and your letter S starts from the top. This one starts from the middle." The receipts belonged to a former assistant who had been collecting money and imitating Sadie's handwriting. The amount was not large. Liu 2,340 over 4 weeks. But the discovery changed something in Victor. He became interested in the way pressure, spacing, and habit lived inside handwriting. Uche asked questions. Too many questions. Why did customers shout at apprentices but greet rich shop owners politely? Why did newspapers report market women as uneducated traders but call corrupt executives embattled businessmen? Why did people believe a man wearing suit before a woman holding receipts? Sade often chased him back to work. Question will not sweep floor. But at night, when the machines were quiet, she answered him. People respect packaging, she once said. That is why your work must have evidence. If they refuse to respect your face, let them meet your records. The young men began attending evening classes. Kola enrolled in a foundation program and later secured admission to study law. Victor took technical courses in printing, document production, and records management. Uche volunteered at a community radio station, carrying cables and writing short announcements nobody allowed him to read on air. Sade paid no school fees for them. She could not. What she gave was smaller and more difficult to measure. She woke them at 5:30 a.m. She made them account for every naira. She corrected their application letters. She kept copies of every form they submitted. She refused to let failure become an identity. When Kola failed an entrance examination by 4 marks, he stayed outside the workshop until midnight. Sade found him sitting on a broken tire. I have wasted the money, he said. You failed exam. You did not burn the country. I disappointed you. You are not important enough to destroy my whole life with one result. He looked at her, confused. Sade sat beside him. Listen, shame likes to make itself big. Reduce it to fact. What happened? I scored 4 marks below the cutoff. Good. That is fact. What next? I study again. That is also fact. Now stand up. He did. The following year, Kola passed. When Victor's right hand developed an infection from the burn, Sadie took him to a clinic and spent a 1,850 meant for rent on treatment. She did not tell him the money was for rent. He discovered it months later when the landlord insulted her in front of customers. You are carrying 3 grown men on your head, the landlord shouted. Will they pay your debt with thank you? Sade stood behind her cutting table. They are not debt. They are not your children. No. Then why? Sade looked at the 3 young men, each pretending not to listen. Because somebody can belong to your responsibility without belonging to your blood. The words stayed with them. So did the records. Every Sunday evening, Sade opened one hardback notebook and made all 4 of them account for the week. Income, expenses, borrowed tools, promises made, promises kept. Memory is proud, she told them. It thinks it cannot fail. Paper is humble. It agrees to remember for you. Uch once laughed. Ma, one day you will turn all of us into accountants. No. I am trying to stop all of you from becoming victims. Those notebooks later became the one property Sade saved when fire came again. It happened on June 3, 2001. At 1:26 in the afternoon, smoke rose from a row of shops 2 buildings away. An overloaded electrical connection had sparked inside a store filled with foam and fabric. The flames spread fast. People shouted. Buckets appeared, then disappeared when heat pushed everyone back. Sade was inside the workshop with Victor when the first window cracked. Carry the machines! Victor shouted. No, documents first. Ma, machines are more expensive. Documents first. They pulled out a metal box containing receipts, training forms, rent agreements, and Sade's notebooks. Kola and Uche arrived minutes later and helped drag 2 machines outside before the roof caught. By evening, half the row was black. Sade's workshop was not completely destroyed, but the landlord declared the structures unsafe. 2 days later, before tenants could organize, bulldozers arrived under a clearance order connected to a road expansion. There was no secret billionaire behind it. No miracle stopped the machines. Poor people simply stood with their belongings in the dust, while officials told them to submit claims at an office many could not locate. Sad received Pleasant 17, 300 compensation 6 months later. It did not replace one machine. The young men were at a turning point of their own. Kola had been accepted into a scholarship program in Lagos. Victor had received placement at a records and printing institute in Kaduna. Uche had finally been offered paid work at a small radio station in Minna. They wanted to remain with Sade. She refused. "You think suffering together is loyalty?" she asked them. "No, sometimes loyalty is going forward so the person who helped you did not waste her effort." Kola's eyes filled. "Who will help you rebuild?" "I have 2 hands." Victor looked at the burnt machines. "Ma, 2 hands are not enough. They were enough before you came." Uche shook his head. "We will send money. When you can, we will call. When you remember." Kola stepped closer. "We will not forget you." Say touched his cheek. "I did not feed you so you can spend your life paying me back. I fed you because you were hungry." They left within 12 days of one another. For a while, they kept their promises. Kola wrote letters from Lagos. Victor sent postcards from Kaduna. Uche called from public phone centers and always spoke too quickly because he was counting the seconds. Then life began moving addresses. Sade relocated from Gwagwalada to Bwari, then to Suleja, then back into Abuja. One landlord kept her letters after a rent dispute. A bag containing her old contact book was stolen inside a bus at Zuba. Uche's radio station changed ownership, and his line stopped working. Victor traveled for training outside the country for 14 months. Kola's letters were returned after Sade left a rented room without a forwarding address. Nobody made one dramatic decision to abandon anybody. Distance worked slowly. One missed call became 3 months. One returned letter became a year. Years became silence. Sade kept 3 photographs inside her metal box. In one, Kola wore a shirt too large for him and held an admission letter. In another, Victor stood beside a printing machine, smiling with his injured hand raised. In the last, Uche sat before a radio microphone that was not yet connected, pretending to interview the president. Whenever Sade moved, the photographs moved with her. She did not know Kola had become a respected land lawyer. She did not know Victor's work was now requested in banking disputes and insurance cases. She did not know Uche had built a reputation for investigations that made powerful people uncomfortable. And they did not know she had rebuilt her life one hem, one blouse and one receipt at a time. By 2007, Sade had rented a narrow room in Kubwa and started training 2 women after work. By 2012, the group became a registered cooperative. By 2016, members had contributed enough to secure a long lease on a neglected plot near a drainage channel. By 2019, Sade completed the final installment for assignment of the interest from the previous holder. She paid slowly. Every payment came with a receipt. Every meeting produced minutes. Every document entered a labeled envelope. The land was not glamorous then. There was no transport terminal nearby. No developer wanted it. During rainy season, the road became mud. During dry season, dust settled on every piece of fabric before noon. Still, Sade built. 3 rooms first, then a longer workshop, then a store. Women came. Some had lost jobs. Some had left difficult marriages. Some simply needed a skill that could turn 2 hands into income. Sade did not ask for their private pain before teaching them. She asked whether they could come on time. That was Open Stitch. A place small enough for powerful people to underestimate, and useful enough for poor people to defend. 3 months before Sade's arrest, a white vehicle entered the compound at 12:11 p.m. Mercy Okonkwo stepped out. She wore cobalt blue that day, bright and polished, with dark glasses and a tablet tucked beneath one arm. Sola followed her. 2 surveyors walked behind them. Sade was correcting the sleeve of a trainee's blouse. "Good afternoon," Mercy said. Sade looked up. "Good afternoon. Hope no problem?" Mercy surveyed the workshop. No problem. Opportunity. She introduced Cresthaven Properties and explained that a major transport development was planned within the district. The company was assembling nearby plots for a commercial center, parking facility and serviced offices. We are prepared to offer you $6,250,000, Mercy said. Sadie thought she had misheard. For the land. For your interest in the land and structures. Sadie glanced at the women working around them. We are not selling. Mercy smiled as though Sadie had made a joke. You have not heard the full offer. I heard enough. Sola opened a folder. Madam Say, this figure is generous considering the nature of development on the property. Say looked at the walls. What nature? Mercy waved one hand. Temporary structures. Old machines. Informal training. A machine stopped. Then another. The women were listening. Sadie removed the measuring tape from her wrist and placed it on the table. This cooperative has 37 registered members. 18 trainees will graduate in March. We have orders. We have records. We pay dues. Nothing here is informal because it does not impress you. Mercy's expression cooled. Madam Saad, let us not squeeze our faces over business. Everything has a price. Not everything. 8 million. No, 8 million, and we will allow you 3 months to move. No. Mercy stepped closer. You have probably never had 8 million naira in one account. That does not mean I should sell the place feeding many accounts. The women murmured approval. Mercy heard it. Her pride heard it more loudly. She put on her sunglasses. A person should know when an offer is rescue. Sadie picked up her measuring tape. And a person should know when rescue is another word for removal. Mercy left without saying goodbye. Sola remained for 2 seconds longer. He looked at the labeled files stacked behind Sadie's desk, then at the land documents framed on the wall. Keep an open mind, he said. Sade nodded. And you keep your hands closed. That afternoon, Mercy told Sola to begin what she called the pressure sequence. Neither of them knew Sade had written the time of their visit in her notebook. 12:11 p. M. Offer refused. Witnesses present. 31. Paper was already remembering. The first thing to fail was electricity. Open Stitch had a prepaid meter. Sade bought credit herself and wrote every token number in a small green ledger. On December 22, at 10:34 a.m., the power went off while the meter still displayed 143 units. Sade called the distribution company. The agent told her the property had been flagged for verification because of a complaint about an illegal connection. What illegal connection? Sade asked. Madam, you will need to visit the area office. She visited twice. Each time, somebody gave her another desk number. Power returned after 11 days, but only after she paid an inspection fee of 18,650 and produced documents proving the meter belonged to the cooperative. The second thing to fail was access. A truck bringing 26 rolls of fabric was stopped at the entrance by 2 men in reflective jackets. They claimed the inner road had become a controlled construction route. The driver refused to carry the materials by hand and charged Sade an additional 27,000 for waiting. When she complained, the men vanished. The third thing to fail was trust. Messages began circulating among customers. Open, Stitch will close soon. Do not pay deposit. The ogre has sold the property. One bride cancelled an order for 8 dresses. Another customer demanded the return of a deposit already used to purchase fabric. A supplier who had given Sade 30 days credit shortened it to 7. Sade wrote down each incident. Date. Time. Name. Amount lost. She visited the police station to make a report about the threats. The officer on duty listened with half his attention and asked whether anyone had physically attacked her. No. Did they damage property? The signboard was pulled down last night. Did you see who did it? No. Do you have camera? No. The officer tapped his pen. Madam, development disputes can be complicated. Maybe you should settle with the company. Sade felt something cold move through her chest. I came to report intimidation. I have heard you. You have not written anything. He looked up, irritated. Madam, do you want to teach me my work? Sad said nothing. She waited until he opened the incident register. Then she watched him write. On January 9th, Cresthaven sent a formal letter claiming Sad had already agreed to sell. She replied through a small legal aid office that the claim was false. On January 27th, Sola sent a copy of a payment advice bearing Sadie's name and the figure $8,417,000. The advice listed an account at Unity Frontier Bank. Sad had never banked there. She went to the branch. The customer service officer refused to provide information because she could not supply the account number in full. The copy from Cresthaven showed only the first 4 and last 3 digits. Use my national identification number, Sade said. Madam, that is not how we search. Somebody is using my name. You need a court order or official police request. I am the somebody whose name they are using. The officer softened, but procedure remained procedure. I am sorry, Ma. Sade left with nothing except the name of the bank and a growing fear. She called the legal aid office again. The lawyer who had written the first response had left. The new volunteer promised to review the file, but did not call back. Sade considered finding Kola. The thought embarrassed her. She had not seen him in 25 years. She did not know whether he still remembered the woman from a burnt workshop. She did not even know if he was alive. The same was true of Victor and Uch. Sade had spent years telling herself she did not need repayment. Now, when she needed help, pride tied her mouth. On February 18, 2 women arrived at Open Stitch and offered 4 trainees jobs at a new fashion center. The salaries sounded good. The address belonged to a business linked to Cresthaven. Warned the trainees to investigate before accepting. One woman accused her of blocking opportunities because she wanted cheap labor. The word spread. By the end of February, 9 trainees had stopped attending. On March 3, someone painted Solj across the cooperative gate. Sade scrubbed the red letters herself. On March 8, the signboard was broken. On March 14, Mercy arrived with police, bailiffs, a possession order, and the forged deed. The pressure sequence had finished. The erasure had begun. Sade was released from the station at 1:12 p.m. The following day, after a duty solicitor intervened, she signed a bond requiring her to return for questioning. The police retained copies of her identification documents and warned her not to interfere with witnesses named in the complaint. No charge had yet been filed, but the handcuffs had already done their work. Outside the station, only 2 people waited. One was a graduate from Open Stitch. The other was the soft drink supplier, who came to ask when Sade would pay the balance for the ceremony. He stood 3 meters away, as if accusation could spread through touch. Madam Sad, he said, I am sorry for what happened, but my 31,500, I know. I also have family, I know. When can I get it? Sade opened her purse. She had bine 4,800. She gave him bine 4,000. The graduate protested, Ma, you need transport. Sade shook her head. A debt does not become smaller because I am suffering. The supplier took the money. He looked ashamed. Still, he took it. The graduate, a 34-year-old mother of 2, led Sade to a bus stop. They waited beneath the sun for 28 minutes. Ma, come and stay with me, the woman said. Sade forced a smile. Your room is already full. We will manage. I am also managing. When Sad reached her rented room in Biajan, the padlock had been changed. Her landlord stood outside with two neighbors. "Madam," he said, avoiding her eyes, "I cannot allow police matter in my compound. I have paid till month end. You can collect balance. My things are inside. They are outside the back veranda." Sade walked around the building. Her mattress leaned against the wall. Two bags of clothes sat in dust. Her metal box was beneath a plastic basin. The framed photograph of Peter had cracked at one corner. Rain clouds were gathering. For a moment, Sad did not move. The graduate began shouting at the landlord. "You cannot throw an old woman outside because of an accusation." The landlord came around the corner. "Do not insult me in my house. She brought police to my address." "She did not bring police. I do not want problem." Sade lifted one hand. "Enough." Her voice was low. The landlord stopped. Sade looked at him. "I have lived here for 4 years. I know. When your wife was admitted, I stayed with your children. I know. When you could not pay school uniform, I sewed too without collecting money." His face tightened. "I know, but no. There is no but inside what I did. I did not help you, so you would owe me. I am only asking whether 4 years of knowing me is weaker than one video." The landlord opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Sade nodded slowly. "That is what I wanted to know." The graduate helped move Sade's belongings into a one-room apartment shared by her cousin near Arab Road. Sade slept on a mat beside bags of fabric. That night, she opened the metal box. The old notebooks were still there. So were the land documents. So were the photographs of Kola, Victor, and Yuch. She placed the photographs in a row. "See, all of you," she murmured. "You people have become old inside my box." She laughed once. Then she covered her face and cried without sound. At 6:48 the next morning, Uche Johnson watched the arrest video for the first time. He was inside a radio studio in Abuja, preparing to record an interview about pension fraud. A producer sent him the clip with a message. "This looks like your kind of story." Uche almost ignored it. The internet was full of public shame packaged as entertainment. He had learned not to confuse a viral clip with evidence. Then Sade turned towards the camera. The image shook. Her face appeared for less than 2 seconds. Uche froze. He replayed it again. The woman was older. Her cheeks had narrowed. Grey hair showed beneath the turquoise head tie, but the yellow measuring tape was around her wrist. Uche remembered the rule. Scissors on the table, chalk in the tin, measuring tape on the wrist. He stood so quickly, his chair rolled backwards. The producer looked through the studio glass. "Sir, hope no problem?" Uche did not answer. He opened an old digital folder he had carried from one computer to another for years. Inside were scanned photographs from his early radio days. He found one. A younger Sade stood outside the Gwagwalada workshop, squeezing her face because Uche had pointed a camera at her without warning. The same measuring tape circled her wrist. His hands began to shake. He searched the name in the video caption. Sade Williams, Open Stitch Cooperative, Kubwa. For 25 years, Uche had searched the wrong spellings, old addresses, and incomplete memories. Now the internet had found her through humiliation. He called Kola first. The call rang twice. "Uche? Kola? I found Mama." Silence. The kind that does not mean a line has disconnected. The kind that means a whole past has entered the room. "What did you say?" "I found her." "Where?" Uche swallowed. "She was arrested yesterday." Kola's voice changed. "For what?" "Land fraud." "No, I have video." "Kola, no, not her." "That is what I am telling you." Uche sent the link. He heard Kola open it while still on the call. For 31 seconds, neither man spoke. Then Kola whispered, "Mama." Uche called Victor. Victor was in a document laboratory in Lagos, examining disputed signatures for an insurance claim. When he saw Sade's face, he removed his glasses and sat down. She is alive, he said. Yes. And we found her like this? Yes. Victor pressed one hand over his mouth. Uche heard him breathing. Send me everything, Victor said. Every document you can get. By noon, the three men had created a secure folder and a group call. Kola warned them immediately. We must not decide she is innocent because we love her. Uche flared. You think Mama sold land twice? I think a court will not accept our memory as evidence. Victor spoke softly. Kola is right. Uche paced across the studio. So what are you saying? We investigate, Kola said, properly. No public campaign, no emotional interview, no program calling anybody a criminal. Uche stopped pacing. I know my work. I know. That is why I am saying it clearly. We protect her by being cleaner than the people accusing her. Victor agreed. First, we find Mama. Then we see the documents. They found her that evening. Not through wealth. Not through secret connections. Through the graduate who had posted a request for legal assistance beneath one of the viral videos. At 7:09 p.m., a dark blue car stopped outside the one-room apartment where Sade was staying. Kola stepped out first in a cobalt blue suit, though he had loosened his collar during the drive. Victor came from the other side carrying a black case. Uche stood beside the gate and suddenly could not move. Sade was seated on a plastic stool outside, sorting buttons into small bowls. She looked up at the sound of the car. Her eyes moved from Kola to Victor, then to Uche. The buttons slipped from her lap, red, white, gold. They scattered across the concrete. Nobody bent to pick them. Kola took one step. Mama. Sade's mouth opened. No sound came. Victor removed his glasses. Uche began crying before he reached her. All three men knelt. Not because Sade had become rich. Not because cameras were there. There were no cameras. They knelt because 25 years had finally ended in one small compound under a weak security bulb. Sade touched Kola's face with both hands. You grew beard. A laugh broke through his tears. Yes, Ma. She touched Victor's right hand. The burn? It healed. She looked at Uche. You still ask too many questions? More than before. Sade smiled. Then her face folded. My sons. They held her. For a while, the case did not exist. No land, no forged deed, no red suit. Only 4 people trying to fit 25 missing years into one embrace. Later, inside the room, Sade cooked tea on a single burner, though everyone told her not to bother. You came to my house, she insisted. Will I let you drink air? Kola looked around at the bags and mattress. Mama, is this where you live? For now. What happened to your room? I am managing. Uche's jaw tightened. Who threw you out? Sade pointed at him with a spoon. Do not start radio inside this room. Victor opened the black case. Ma, may we see the document they say you signed? Sade became still. The reunion changed shape. She brought out the copy Sola had sent and placed it on the floor mat. Victor did not touch it at once. He photographed each page, noted the source, and asked who had handled it. Kola read every clause. Uche opened a notebook. Sade watched them. You people came prepared. Kola looked up. You prepared us. He asked Sade to tell the story from the beginning, not from the arrest. From Mercy's first visit, Sade gave dates, times, names, amounts. She opened her green ledger, then a blue one, then the hardback notebook where she recorded meetings. Uche stared. You still keep everything? Sade looked offended. Did I train goats? Victor smiled for the first time. At 11:36 p.m. Kola closed the last file. Mama, I will represent you. Sade shook her head. I cannot pay your fee. I did not ask. I will not take charity. Kola leaned forward. This is not charity. What is it? It is work, necessary work. Victor added, I will examine the documents, but another independent expert should verify my findings. Because I know you. Uche nodded. And I will not put your story on air until we have records that can stand outside this room. Sud looked at all three. You do not believe me? The question hurt them. Kola answered carefully. We believe you, but belief is not what the other side will fear. Evidence is. Sade looked down at the measuring tape around her wrist. Then she nodded. Good, she said. Let us not fight lies with noise. Before they left, Sade asked only one personal question. Are you living well? Kola started telling her about his law practice. She waved him off. I did not ask whether you have car. I asked whether you are living well. Victor understood first. We try to be decent, Ma. Try harder. Uche laughed through his tiredness. There is our mama. The next morning, the investigation began. Not with a dramatic arrest, with a photocopy. And on that photocopy, Victor saw the first crack. Victor enlarged the signature until the letters became black roads across his screen. Sadade's usual signature began with a narrow upward stroke on the S, dipped sharply, then crossed the final S with a quick return movement. The signature on the deed looked correct from a distance. Up close, it behaved like a stranger wearing her clothes. The S began too low. The pressure disappeared midway through the surname. The final stroke stopped, then continued from a different angle. Victor did not call it forgery yet. He wrote one word in his notes, questioned, at 8:05 a.m. The following day, he asked Sade to provide 20 undisputed signatures from different years. She gave him bank forms, cooperative minutes, supplier receipts, and an old clinic record. Every item was copied in Kola's presence. Each copy was numbered. Each source was written down, no shortcuts. Kola spent the same morning at the land registry. He filed an application for certified copies of the title history, survey plan, and every instrument recorded against the plot. The clerk at the first desk told him the file was unavailable. The clerk at the second desk said it had been transferred. The clerk at the third desk asked him to return in 2 weeks. Kola placed his practicing card on the table. I am representing the registered interest holder in active litigation, he said. Please acknowledge this request today. The clerk looked at the card, then at Kola's face. Barrister, these files are many. I did not ask for many. I asked for one. Come tomorrow. Stample my copy before I go. The clerk squeezed his face. Kola remained seated. After 13 minutes, the copy was stamped. That small stamp later mattered. Uche began with people. He interviewed Sadie's neighbors, graduates, suppliers, and cooperative members. He recorded nothing secretly. He explained the purpose, requested consent, and separated what people knew from what they had heard. Many had facts. More had rumors. One man claimed he saw Sade carrying bags of cash. When? Uche asked. Last year. Which month? I cannot remember. Where? Near the bank. What kind of bag? The man became annoyed. My brother, are you saying I am lying? I am asking what you saw. People often enjoyed accusations until questions arrived. By the third day, Uche had identified 5 former landholders who had complained about Cresthaven or companies connected to it. 4 agreed to speak privately. Their stories were not identical. That was important. One had signed a sale agreement, but claimed the amount was altered after signing. Another denied signing at all. A widow said a payment entered an account opened with her identity details, then disappeared before she knew the account existed. A mechanic said his complaint collapsed after the only copy of his receipt went missing from a government file. Different roads, same destination, loss of land. Kola warned Uche again. Do not publish. I have not. Do not even tease the investigation on air. I know. Mercy will try to make this about media persecution. Uche closed his notebook. She humiliated Mama in front of cameras. Yes, and we are supposed to whisper. We are supposed to build something that will survive cross-examination. Uche looked away. Kola softened. You wanted people to tell the truth about the poor. This is your chance. Do it carefully. Uche nodded. Carefully did not mean quietly forever. It meant the noise would come after the foundation. On the 5th day, Unity Frontier Bank responded to a preservation letter from Kola. The bank would not release account records without an order, but it confirmed that an account matching the masked number existed and had been opened 11 days before the disputed payment. The account name was Sade Arinola Williams. The registered phone number was not hers. The address was not hers. The identification number was hers. Kola applied urgently for disclosure. Cresthaven opposed it, arguing that the criminal investigation should proceed first. The court granted limited access because the account was central to the civil claim. The records arrived in a sealed envelope. Sad sat between Kola and Victor when they opened it. The account opening photograph showed a woman in a blue head tie. She was not sad. Her face was rounder. Her nose was wider. A dark mark sat beneath her left eye. Sade touched the photograph. Who is this? Nobody knew. The account had received 8,417,000 at 9:42 a.m. on November 6. At 11:17 a.m., my 3,100,000 moved to a company called North Vale Services. At 2:06 p.m., my 2,817,000 moved to another account. The next morning, 2,400 was withdrawn through 2 managers' checks. Bank charges consumed the rest. Within 36 hours, the account held 1,260. Victor examined the signature card. The signature matched the deed. That did not prove Sade signed either document. It proved the same imitation traveled through both. Then Victor noticed the date on the certification stamp attached to the identity copy. November 6. The same day the account was opened. But the Commissioner for Oaths, whose stamp appeared on the copy, had died on October 19. Kola verified the death through official records. Sade crossed both arms. So a dead man woke up to certify my identity. Victor looked at her. That is what the document is asking us to believe. Sade gave a dry laugh. Maybe he and the ghost signed together. The humor lasted 3 seconds. Then she began to cry, not loudly. She stared at the photograph of the unknown woman. They borrowed my name, she said. They gave it another face. Kola placed one hand over the file. They will return it. The next crack came from time. The deed stated that Sade signed before 2 witnesses at 2:30 p.m. on October 28th in Woos II. OpenStitch's attendance register showed Sade conducted a cooperative meeting in Kubwa from 1:05 p.m. until 4:18 p.m. 32 members signed. Attendance alone could be challenged. So Uche looked further. A phone video from the meeting showed Sade speaking at 2:37 p.m. She wore a green dress and stood beside a wall clock. The location was identifiable. A mobile network record later confirmed her phone remained connected to a Kubwa sector during that period. The disputed deed placed her more than 20 kilometers away. Sola's witnesses insisted she traveled quickly and signed between activities. The timing made that nearly impossible. Then the registry documents arrived. The first certified page matched Cresthaven's copy. The second did not. Kola compared the pagination. Page 4 in the certified file used a slightly different font. The staple holes did not align. The registry intake stamp appeared above the text when all surrounding pages had stamps below. Somebody had replaced a page. Victor photographed the binding under magnification. Fibers around 2 holes were newer. Again, he did not jump to a conclusion. He wrote another word: substitution. The document contained one more problem. A verification code printed at the bottom, linked to a scanner model. introduced to the registry office in February, almost 2 years after the deed was supposedly filed. Kohler contacted the equipment supplier and obtained installation records. The device serial number did not exist at that office on the claimed date. A document can lie with words. Machines often lie less elegantly. By the end of the second week, Kohler had enough to seek an injunction preventing Cresthaven from altering or transferring the property. He filed a counterclaim, asking the court to declare the deed void, restore possession, award damages, and refer the suspected forgery for investigation. Mercy responded within 48 hours, not in court first, in public. She held a press briefing at Cresthaven's glass office in Maitama. Behind her stood a large rendering of the proposed transport plaza, complete with trees, smiling families, and clean roads that did not yet exist. Mercy wore emerald green. "We are deeply concerned," she told reporters, "that certain media personalities and legal practitioners are trying to turn a straightforward property transaction into an emotional campaign." She did not mention Uche by name. She did not need to. "Cresthaven has valid documents. Funds were paid. We will not surrender investor confidence to manipulation." A reporter asked whether Sade had received the money. Mercy looked directly into the camera. "The bank records speak for themselves." The clip spread. People who had begun doubting the first story returned to certainty. Sade saw the video on another person's phone. "She has fine office," Sade said. Uche looked at her, surprised. "That is your response? What do you want me to say?" "That she is lying. We know. You are not angry?" Sade folded fabric on the floor of the shared room. "My son, anger is useful when it can carry something. If it only burns your chest, put it down." Mercy's second response was private. Kohler received a complaint from a supposed former client accusing him of professional misconduct in an unrelated land matter. The complaint lacked detail but threatened his reputation and consumed time. Victor lost a major bank assignment after an executive told him his involvement in a politically sensitive dispute created concern about neutrality. Uche's station received a pre-action letter demanding Mr. 500 million for anticipated defamation, even though he had not aired one word about Cresthaven. Then Sade received an offer. Sola came to the shared apartment at 5:52 p.m. in a silver car. He carried no police, no cameras, only a sealed envelope. The graduate's cousin allowed him into the compound but remained nearby. Sad sat outside. Sola did not sit. "Cresthaven is willing to resolve this matter," he said. "How?" "Now 25 million. Sad looked at him. He placed the envelope on a plastic table. "You withdraw your counterclaim. You acknowledge the transaction. You vacate the land within 14 days. The company will consider supporting a vocational program at another location." Consider? The terms can be refined. And the criminal accusation. The complainant will write that it no longer wishes to proceed. Saad looked at the envelope. 25 million naira. Enough for rent, enough for machines. Enough to stop sleeping beside fabric bags in somebody else's room. Sola saw the silence and mistook it for surrender. "You have already suffered," he said. "Do not let those 3 men use your situation to build their names." Sade raised her eyes. "They had names before they found me. They are emotionally involved. So are you. I am doing my job. Is your job to carry another woman's face into a bank and call it mine?" Sola's mouth tightened. "You should be careful with accusations. You came with money because you are careful? I came with peace." Sade pushed the envelope back. "Peace that needs me to lie is only a quieter war." Sola did not touch it. "Madam Sad, you are protecting a leaking shed as if it is a palace." Sad stood. The burnt orange wrapper around her waist was faded. Her slippers were worn. Behind her, clothes hung from a rope stretched across a small veranda. She had never looked less powerful. Yet Sola stepped back. "A place does not become worthless because poor people built it," she said. "And a person does not become cheap because you found her tired." Sola picked up the envelope. "You will regret this. I already regret opening my gate when your company first came. That regret is enough." He left. The following morning, somebody sent a recording of the conversation to Mercy. The recording began after Sola entered the compound and ended before he reached his car. He had recorded it himself. Mercy listened twice. Then she threw the phone onto her desk. "She is enjoying this," she said. Sola stood before the window. "She is frightened." "She does not sound frightened. Some people use stubbornness to hide fear." Mercy looked at him. "Then remove the people giving her courage." Sola hesitated. "We have already filed complaints. I did not say write more letters. What exactly are you asking?" Mercy walked to the window. Below, cars entered and left the Cresthaven compound. "The registry clerk who helped us is becoming nervous." Sola's face changed. "Faith has not said anything. Yet, she needs this job. Fear changes direction when cameras arrive." Sola lowered his voice. "I told you replacing that page was unnecessary." Mercy turned sharply. "And I told you the original chain was weak. The bank trail was enough. The bank trail was not land title." For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Mercy said, "Call Faith." Faith Bellow had worked in the Land Registry Records Unit for 11 years. She was not powerful. She was not innocent either. When Sola first asked her to move a file for urgent executive review, she knew procedure had been broken. When the file returned with one page looking newer, she noticed. When he gave her Minder 120, 000 inside a brown envelope and called it transport support, she took it. Her mother needed medication. Her rent was overdue. Fear and need did not make the act right. They only made the wrong easier to explain to herself. After Said's arrest video spread, Faith stopped sleeping well. She saw the handcuffs each time she closed her eyes. On March 24, she used a newly purchased phone to send Uche one message. The file was changed. "He will destroy the original index." Uche replied within 1 minute. "Wisho, are you?" No answer came. 2 days later, Faith called from a blocked number. "I can show you where the entry changed," she whispered. "Let us meet with a lawyer present," Uche said. "No police, why?" "I do not know who has spoken to who. Are you in danger?" "I am in trouble." They agreed to meet at a legal aid office at 4:30 p.m. the next day. Faith did not come. At 5:12, her phone went off. At 7:40, Uche drove to the address she had given. The room was locked. A neighbor said Faith had left with 2 bags and her mother before sunrise. Uche called Kola. "She has disappeared." "Do not use that word yet," Kola said. "What word should I use?" "She failed to attend. We do not know why. Her phone is off. Her room is empty. That may mean she is frightened, or somebody reached her. Do not create what we cannot prove." Uche gripped the steering wheel. "I am tired of proof arriving after people are damaged." Kola's voice stayed calm. "And I am trying to stop you from damaging the case with a conclusion." Uche ended the call too quickly. For 2 days, they heard nothing. On the 3rd night, Faith called again. Her voice shook. "I took my mother to Kefi. Are you safe? For now, why did you run?" "Sola called me. He knew somebody contacted you." "What did he say?" "That if I lied against the company, my mother and I would lose more than my job." Uche closed his eyes. "Faith, listen to me. We will not force you to testify. But you need independent legal advice, not mine, not Kola's. You also need to understand that keeping evidence or destroying it can create consequences for you." "I know. Do you?" Faith began crying. "I took money." "How much?" Neth 120,000. What for? To move the file. To let him take it outside the unit. I told myself it was ordinary favor. I saw the changed page when he returned it. Did you change it? No. Did you report it? No. Silence. Then Uche asked the question that mattered. Do you have anything that can prove what happened? Faith breathed in. Yes. Before Sola returned the file, Faith had photographed the index sheet because she feared being blamed if pages went missing. The image showed the original page description and a different registration date. Her work email also contained Sola's request to make the old woman's chain clean before the transport announcement. Faith had not understood the full sentence then. Now she did. Kola arranged for an independent lawyer to advise her. A formal statement was taken. The photographs were preserved with their original metadata. The email account was imaged by a neutral digital specialist. Faith agreed to testify, not because she became fearless, because she understood fear had already made her useful to the wrong people. When Sede heard about Faith, she did not celebrate. She helped them, Sede said. Yes, Uche replied, and now she wants to help us. Sede folded her hands. Then let her tell the whole truth, not the part that makes her look clean. That became the condition. Faith's statement admitted the money, admitted the silence, admitted the fear. Responsibility did not disappear simply because repentance arrived. But repentance became useful when it stopped hiding from consequence. By April 2nd, Kola believed they could win the immediate land case. Victor was less satisfied. We have shown the signature is likely copied, he said. We have shown the bank account used another woman's photograph. We have shown the registry page was substituted. But we still need the source signature. What do you mean? Uche asked. Foras does not grow from air. Whoever made this had access to at least 2 genuine documents signed by Mama. Sade listened from the corner, then she slowly stood. 2 documents. At least. She went to the metal box and opened a smaller envelope. Inside were copies of forms she had submitted during Cresthaven's first approach. Sola had asked for evidence of ownership, identification and cooperative registration to prepare what he called an improved offer. Saad had given him copies. One was a 2019 payment acknowledgement. Another was a 2021 cooperative resolution. Victor placed them beside the forged deed. The beginning of the signature came from the first document. The ending came from the second. 2 real signatures had been cut, aligned, and digitally combined. Then printed. The room became still. Sade stared at the pages. I gave him these. Kola spoke gently. You gave copies for a stated purpose. That did not give him permission to use them this way. I opened the file for him. You did not forge anything. I made it easy. Victor shook his head. Mama, trust is not the offense. Abusing trust is. Sade sat down. For years, she had taught people to keep copies. Now, she learned another lesson. A copy should also be marked with purpose and date when possible. Sensitive identity documents should not travel without record. People should verify who receives them and why. Put it in the training, she said. Uche frowned. What training? When we reopen. All 3 men looked at her, not if, when. The court date was set for April 9. Mercy arrived convinced the old woman would finally break. She did not know the metal box had remembered everything. The courtroom was already crowded when Sade arrived. Cresthaven had invited reporters under the claim that it wanted transparency. Mercy understood the usefulness of a public room. If she won, cameras would turn legal victory into moral authority. If she lost, she believed the company's lawyers could bury the meaning beneath appeals and statements. She wore the same burnt orange dress from the graduation day. She had washed it carefully. The bruises on her wrists had faded from purple to brown. The yellow measuring tape remained around her right wrist. Kola had asked her to leave it at home because opposing counsel might accuse them of creating an emotional image. Sade refused. "I have worn it for 30 years, she said. They met me with it. They will leave me with it. At 9:03 a.m., the judge entered. Everyone rose. The matter before the court was not yet a criminal trial. It was an urgent civil hearing concerning possession, validity of the disputed deed, preservation of the property, and Sade's counterclaim. The alleged criminal conduct had been referred separately for investigation. That distinction mattered. Kola had explained it to Sade 3 times. "You may not get every answer today," he warned. "I want the land protected. Yes, and my name. That may take longer." Sade looked at him. "My name has already spent long enough outside." Cresthaven's senior counsel rose first. He was polished, calm, and experienced. He did not shout in the beginning. He built his argument around documents, payment, and commercial certainty. Then he turned to Sade. "Madam Williams," he said, "you describe yourself as a seamstress. I am a tailor and vocational trainer. You do not hold a university degree? No. You are not trained in property law? No. You have borrowed money for your business? Yes. You were under financial pressure in October, like many small businesses. Please answer yes or no." "Yes, and Cresthaven offered you money." "Yes. An amount far greater than your yearly income." "Yes." The lawyer lifted the deed. "You sold this land for 8,417,000, Madam Sade. Stop pretending you are the victim." His voice cracked across the Abuja courtroom. Sade stood alone in her burnt orange dress, wrists bruised from custody, while Mercy watched behind her lawyers in a ruby-red suit. Then the forged contract was raised. "Your signature is here. Your account received the money. Yet you refuse to surrender the property. That is fraud." A few people laughed. Not everyone, but enough. Sade's lips trembled. "That is not my signature." Mercy leaned toward Sola and spoke loudly enough to carry. "Then whose is it? A ghost's?" The courtroom reacted again. The judge lifted one hand. Before he could speak, the heavy doors opened. 3 men stepped inside. Victor carried a forensic document case. Uche stood beside Faith, whose face was pale beneath a navy blue head scarf. Kola had stepped outside moments earlier to meet them after a delayed security check. He entered now in his cobalt blue suit, carrying a thick legal file. He looked at Sade. For 1 second, the lawyer disappeared. The hungry 19-year-old returned. "Mama," he said, "we are sorry it took us 25 years to find you." The room fell silent. Mercy's counsel objected at once. "My lord, this emotional display has no place in these proceedings." Kola faced the bench. "I apologize, my lord. The witness and expert were delayed at the entrance. We are ready to proceed." The judge looked over his glasses. "This court will decide on evidence, not theater. Everyone will conduct themselves accordingly." "Yes, my lord," Kola said. Mercy smiled again. She thought the rebuke belonged only to them. Kola began with the title history. He presented Sade's original assignment, payment receipts, and cooperative resolutions. Each document was supported by a certified copy or testimony from the issuing source. He showed that Sade's interest predated Cresthaven's claimed transaction. Then he called attention to the disputed date. "Madame Sade, where were you at 2:30 p.m. on October 28? "At Open Stitch Cooperative." "What were you doing?" "Chairing a meeting." "How many people attended?" 32 members signed. More came late. Cresthaven's counsel stood. "Self-generated records." Kola nodded. "Which is why we also have a phone recording made by a member for training purposes. Mobile network location data obtained by order. And 2 independent visitors who signed the attendance register." The video played. Sade appeared on a wall-mounted screen, standing before a group of women. The timestamp read 2:37 p.m. A clock behind her showed nearly the same time. She was speaking about fabric inventory. The clip lasted 22 seconds. Enough. Cresthaven's alleged witnesses placed her in Woos-Tsud at 2:30. The distance, traffic records and phone location placed her in Kubwa. Mercy stopped smiling. Victor testified next. He explained his relationship to Sad before presenting any finding. Yes, she helped me when I was 18, he said. For that reason, I requested independent verification of every conclusion. The second examiner's report is before the court. Cresthaven's counsel leaned forward. So you admit bias? I admit history. Bias is managed through transparent method, preserved samples, and independent review. Victor displayed 20 genuine signatures. He did not use big words to impress the room. He explained line quality, pressure, pen lifts, spacing, and rhythm. A signature is not only a picture, he said, it is movement. A copied shape may resemble the original while failing to reproduce the movement that created it. He enlarged the signature from the deed. The broken pressure became visible. The unnatural stop appeared. Then he placed 2 genuine signatures beside it. The room saw what had happened. The opening came from the 2019 acknowledgement. The ending came from the 2021 resolution. 2 real signatures had been combined. Cresthaven's counsel attacked. Can you identify the person who created this image? No. Can you say where it was created? No. So your evidence does not prove my client forged anything. Victor did not resist the limitation. My evidence shows the questioned signature was not naturally written by Sad Williams. Attribution is a separate question. The answer strengthened him. He did not pretend to know what the science could not prove. Next came the bank records. The account bore Sadie's name and identification number. But the photograph was another woman. The phone number belonged to a prepaid line activated 2 days before account opening. The address led to an empty office once rented by North Vale Services. The certifying official had died 18 days before his stamp appeared on the identity copy. The courtroom no longer laughed. Mercy whispered to Sola. Sola did not look at her. Kola traced the money. Lil 8,417,000 entered. Lil 3,100,000 moved to North Vale Services. Lil 2, 807,000 moved to an account controlled by a vendor that had supplied Cresthaven. 2 managers' checks removed 2,400,000. One of those checks was deposited into the account of a consultancy owned by Sola's brother-in-law. Sola's face drained. Mercy turned towards him. He shook his head once. It was the smallest movement in the room, the most dangerous. Kola then addressed the registry file. Certified pagination showed a break. Staple holes did not align. The disputed page had been scanned using equipment, installed almost 2 years after the stated date. Cresthaven's counsel objected that the equipment records were collateral. The judge allowed limited use to test authenticity. Then Faith was called. She walked to the witness box with both hands clasped. Uche watched from the second row. He had not aired an investigation. He had not published her identity. He had not turned her fear into content. Faith took the oath. Kola began gently. What is your role? I work in the records unit. Did you handle the file relating to Sade Williams' plot? Yes. Did you remove it from normal custody? Faith swallowed. Yes. Why? Mr. Sola Ibe asked me to send it for urgent executive review. Was that proper procedure? No. Did you receive money? Mercy's eyes fixed on her. Faith looked down. Yes. How much? Now 120,000. From whom? Sola Ibe. A sound passed through the courtroom. Cresthaven's counsel rose sharply. This witness is admitting corruption and seeking to save herself by accusing others. Kola turned to Faith. Are you seeking to hide your conduct? No. Did you report the money before this case became public? No. Why not? I was afraid, and I needed it. Does need make it right? Faith's eyes filled. No. Does fear remove your responsibility? No. What happened when the file returned? One page had changed. How do you know? I photographed the index before it left, because I feared pages might go missing. The original image was shown. The file index listed a different instrument number, and no Cresthaven deed. Its metadata placed the photograph before the file left Faith's custody. Her email contained Sola's request to make the chain clean before the transport announcement. Under cross-examination, Faith admitted everything again. The money, the silence, the delayed report. She did not ask the court to call her brave. She asked the court to hear the truth she had once helped hide. Mercy's counsel tried one final line. You are testifying because Mr. Johnson promised to protect your reputation. Faith looked at Uche. No. Did he not meet you? He arranged a lawyer who did not work for him. Did he not tell you what to say? He told me to say the whole truth, including the part that made me look bad. Uche lowered his head. Sade watched Faith return to her seat. Their eyes met. Faith began to cry. Sade did not smile at her. She did not turn away either. Then came the email chain. Faith's preserved account showed messages between Sola and a Cresthaven executive address. One message discussed removing the old woman before the transport project is announced. Another asked whether the account and registry chain can withstand basic due diligence. Mercy argued the phrases referred to lawful acquisition and document review. Kola placed the emails beside the false bank account, substituted page and copied signature. Meaning changed when context arrived. Cresthaven's counsel requested an adjournment to examine the new material. Kola replied that the core documents had been disclosed, while Faith's statement had been served under protective procedure. The court granted a short recess, not a long adjournment. Outside, reporters surrounded both sides. Mercy pushed through without speaking. Sola tried to follow. She caught his arm near the corridor. You used your brother-in-law's account? She hissed. You approved the payment structure. Not that account. You said make it disappear. Lower your voice. You are blaming me now? Mercy released him. You were paid to make the documents clean. Sola laughed once, without humor. And you were paid to make people leave. Mama refused. That was what offended you. A reporter standing 6 meters away lifted a phone. Neither noticed. Inside the courthouse canteen, Sade sat with a bottle of water she had not opened. Kola crouched beside her. You are doing well. I am sitting. That is part of doing well. She looked at the courtroom doors. Will they arrest them today? Maybe not. This court is deciding land and civil relief. The evidence can be referred for criminal investigation. Saad frowned. So after all this, they may go home? They may leave this building today. That is not the same as going free. No, she nodded. Good. I do not want movie justice. I want justice that remains after people stop watching. Kola smiled faintly. You have been listening. I taught you listening. When court resumed, Mercy asked to address one issue personally. Against advice, she took the witness box. She denied authorizing forgery, identity misuse, or registry substitution. She described Sola as an external legal advisor responsible for documentation. She claimed her role had been commercial negotiation. Kola approached slowly. Madam Okonkwo, did Sade Williams reject your offer? Yes. More than once? Yes. Did you tell her everything has a price? I may have used words to that effect. Did you authorize a public relations briefing calling the transaction valid before the dispute was tried? We defended our company. Did you attend the seizure of the cooperative? Yes. Did you describe its trainees as women who could not pay fees? Mercy's eyes narrowed. I do not remember. A graduate's phone video played. Mercy's own voice filled the courtroom. 37 old machines, leaking roof, cracked walls, and you people are carrying her on your head as if she built a university, the video continued. You sew blouses under zinc roof and teach women who cannot pay fees. Do not use big grammar to decorate suffering. Know your level. Mercy's ruby-red suit seemed brighter under the courtroom lights. The cruelty sounded uglier when returned to her without the power of the moment. Kola stopped the video. Was that necessary to protect investor confidence? Mercy looked towards the judge. I was responding to obstruction. You were responding to a poor woman who said no. Objection. Sustained, the judge said. Counsel, ask questions. Kola nodded. Did you instruct Sola Ebe to resolve the title chain? Yes, lawfully. Did you receive his email stating the old woman must be removed before the transport announcement? I receive hundreds of emails. Did you reply? Do whatever is necessary. We cannot lose the parking corridor. Mercy paused. Yes, but no further questions. The pause remained after she stepped down. Sola did not testify. His lawyers advised him not to answer questions that might expose him to criminal liability. The court noted the choice without treating silence as automatic proof. By 4:26 p.m., submissions ended. The judge returned at 5:18 with an oral ruling on the urgent issues and directions for the remaining claims. He spoke for 43 minutes. The court found that Cresthaven had failed to establish a credible lawful transfer. The questioned deed contained serious evidence of fabrication. The payment account did not identify Sade as the person who opened or operated it. The title record showed signs of improper alteration. The possession order was discharged. Cresthaven was restrained from entering, developing, transferring, or interfering with the land. Sade's right to possession was restored immediately. The court directed that certified copies of the record be sent to the police fraud unit, the Land Registry Disciplinary Authority, and the relevant legal professional body. A later hearing would determine full damages, but Cresthaven was ordered to pay interim costs and fund preservation of the cooperative equipment removed from the property. Then the judge addressed the public humiliation. Financial vulnerability is not evidence of dishonesty, he said. Lack of formal education does not make a citizen's title less worthy of protection. Commercial power carries no license to convert social prejudice into proof. Sade lowered her head. Her shoulders shook. Kola placed one hand over hers. Mercy stared forward. The judge continued. The court will not determine guilt in criminal matters not before it. But the evidence disclosed is sufficiently grave to require independent investigation. That was not the instant prison sentence people expected from dramatic stories. It was something more credible. A door opened for accountability, and the evidence walked through it. Outside, reporters crowded the steps. Mercy emerged first. Questions struck her from every direction. Did you authorize the false account? Will you resign? What did remove the old woman mean? Did Cresthaven target other landholders? Mercy's security team formed a path. For the first time, nobody stepped aside because of her suit. Sola came out through another door and found investigators waiting to serve a request for interview and preservation notices. He was not dragged away. He was not beaten. His passport was not seized on the courthouse steps. But his confidence had gone. He kept looking over his shoulder as if documents were following him. Sade emerged last. The same phones that had recorded her in handcuffs now turned towards her freedom. A reporter asked, Madame Sade, how do you feel after defeating Cresthaven? She stopped. I did not defeat a building, she said. People made choices. People must answer for choices. Do you forgive Mercy Okonkwo? Another asked. Sade looked across the steps. Mercy was entering her vehicle. Forgiveness is not a broom for sweeping evidence away, she said. Let accountability finish its work. Then she turned to Faith. The younger woman stood apart, crying. Sade walked towards her. Faith bent her head. Ma, I am sorry. Sade did not embrace her. Not yet. You took money? Yes, Ma. You kept quiet. Yes, you helped them hurt people. Faith's voice broke. Yes, Sade nodded. Then do not spend your apology only on me. Help every file you can help. Tell every truth you know. Accept whatever lawful consequence comes. That is how sorry becomes useful. Faith wept harder. I will. Sade touched her shoulder once. Behind them, Yuche's producer asked whether he would finally air the story. Yuche looked at Kola. Kola said, the ruling is public. The evidence admitted is public. Separate confirmed fact from ongoing allegation. Uche smiled. You still talk like law textbook, and you still need one. Victor laughed. Say looked at the three men. My sons, they turned. Take me to my workshop at 7:06 p.m. The seal came off the open stitch gate. The first padlock resisted because rain had entered it. A bailiff applied oil. The key turned on the third attempt. Sade stepped inside. The place looked wounded. 2 machines had broken legs. Fabric bundles were damp. The graduation certificates lay beneath dust. The framed photograph remained on the floor with cracked glass. 18 graduates entered behind her. Nobody spoke. Saad picked up the photograph. One woman said, Ma, we are sorry we left. Saad looked around. Some had defended her. Some had hidden. Some had believed the video. Tomorrow, Sade said, everybody should come with broom. The women stared. Ma, we cannot sew inside dust. A laugh escaped one person, then another. Soon the room filled with laughter and tears together. The following months were slower than the court victory. Real repair always was. The fraud investigation traced North Vale Services to a network of related transactions. 4 other landholders reopened complaints. Banking staff faced disciplinary hearings. The unknown woman in the account photograph was identified as a casual worker who said she had been paid minder 35,000 to complete forms for a market survey account. Her claim was investigated rather than automatically accepted. Sola's professional body opened proceedings concerning misuse of client documents and interference with public records. Prosecutors later filed charges relating to forgery, identity misuse, and conspiracy. He was entitled to defend himself. Mercy was suspended by Cresthaven's board pending an independent review. Months later, she resigned after the review found that she had approved pressure tactics, ignored compliance warnings, and created incentives for unlawful conduct. Criminal responsibility remained for the courts to determine. Cresthaven did not disappear overnight. Its shareholders did not lose every building because of one ruling. Instead, the company was ordered, through settlements and regulatory action, to audit 5 years of land acquisitions, notify affected owners, preserve records, and contribute to an independently administered legal support fund. That consequence reached further than one dramatic fall. It changed procedure. Faith kept her promise. She cooperated with investigators, returned the fine 120,000, and accepted suspension while disciplinary proceedings continued. She later worked with a civic records group, teaching registry staff how to report improper requests safely. She never called herself a hero. She knew heroes did not need to be forced by another woman's handcuffs before speaking. But she also learned a person is not required to remain forever inside the worst choice she has made. Repentance needs evidence too. The damages hearing concluded 6 months later. Sade received compensation for unlawful interference, damaged equipment, lost income, and reputational harm. The figure was substantial but not magical. It did not turn her into a billionaire. It paid debts, restored machines, and gave the cooperative breathing room. Kola, Victor and Uche offered to buy her a large house in Maitama. Sade refused before they finished speaking. "You people want to carry me on your head now? Mama, you deserve comfort," Kola said. "I deserve to choose my comfort," Victor asked. "What do you want?" Sade looked at the old workshop. 3 rooms had survived. The roof still leaked near the back wall. The open yard could hold another building, if planned carefully. "I want this place to teach more than sewing." That became the new Open Stitch Center. One wing remained a vocational workshop. Another became a records clinic, where small traders learned to issue receipts, mark copies, document payments, verify account details, and keep evidence of submissions. Every Wednesday, volunteer lawyers provided free consultations on tenancy, employment, and land documents. Victor helped design a simple guide showing people how signatures and identity documents could be misused. It did not promise that paper could prevent every crime. It taught practical habits. Write the purpose on copies, keep the original, record who received a document, never sign blank pages, verify account names before payment, ask for an independent witness, report unusual changes early. Uche created an ethics workshop for young reporters. A viral video is not a verdict. A handcuff is not proof. A powerful press statement is not evidence. The poor do not owe the public tears before their rights become believable. Kola established a monthly legal desk for people facing title disputes. He insisted on one rule: no promises of miracle justice. Only records, procedure, and honest assessment. On November 21, the built center opened. The sign outside was new. OpenStit Center. Learn. A skill. Keep your records. Respect every hand. Sade wore a fresh, burnt orange dress, sewn by the 18 women whose graduation had been interrupted. The sleeves carried turquoise embroidery. Her old measuring tape remained around her wrist. Kola wore cobalt blue. Victor wore cream with a narrow blue cap. Uche wore charcoal gray and carried no microphone. Mercy was not invited. Sade did not need her humiliation to complete the day. Justice was not a party built around an enemy's absence. It was a door people could now enter. After the speeches, food was served beneath a canopy. Former trainees returned with children, spouses, and samples of their work. 4 other landholders whose cases had reopened sat together near the front. Faith came quietly and stood at the edge of the compound. Sade saw her. This time, she opened both arms. Faith crossed the yard and entered them. No camera was close enough to capture the words Sade whispered. That was proper. Some moments should remain human before they become content. Near sunset, when most guests had left, Sade noticed a young woman outside the gate. She looked about 19. Her slippers were dusty. A small nylon bag held 2 blouses and a notebook. She had been watching the machines through the fence. Sade walked towards her. "My daughter, hope no problem." The young woman straightened. "I came to ask about training, Ma. Why did you not enter?" "I do not have the registration money yet. When did you last eat?" The woman looked away. That was answer enough. Sade led her inside. There was 1 plate of rice left beneath the cooler lid. Sade placed it on a table and pushed it forward. "Eat." The young woman hesitated. "Ma, I came for information. An empty stomach cannot learn." Sade sat opposite her. "Eat first. Then we will discuss your future." Across the courtyard, Kola heard the words. He stopped walking. Victor looked at him. Uche smiled. 25 years disappeared again. Not because the past had returned, because kindness had continued without waiting for repayment. That was the part of Sade's story that stayed with me most. Not the courtroom applause. Not Mercy's fall. Not even the moment 3 successful men called a poor seamstress mama before a crowded room. What stayed was how quickly people believed a polished company over a woman in worn clothes. They saw her handcuffs and treated them as evidence. They heard a large amount of money and assumed need had already made her dishonest. They measured truth by clothing, office address and vocabulary. That habit is dangerous. Respect should not begin after we discover somebody is connected to powerful men. Sade deserved dignity before Kola entered the courtroom. She deserved to be heard before Victor examined the signature. She deserved fairness before Uche found the video. The 3 men did not save her because they became rich enough to frighten her enemies. They helped because their different skills met her careful records: law, forensics, journalism, courage, paper, procedure, and one woman's stubborn refusal to sign a lie. There is also a lesson in Faith's part. Silence can feel safe when wrongdoing benefits powerful people, but silence does not stay neutral. It usually lands on the person with the least protection. Speaking late cannot erase the harm, yet speaking fully can still stop that harm from spreading. And there is a lesson in the ending. Justice is not only watching an arrogant person lose status. That may feel satisfying for a moment. Real justice restores what was taken, repairs what was damaged, exposes the method and changes the system so another person is harder to erase. Names, institutions and circumstances in this telling have been shaped to carry those lessons without pointing at any particular person or establishment. What matters is the human truth beneath them. Dignity does not rise and fall with income, and a person's level is never beneath basic respect. Actions travel, cruelty travels, so does kindness. Sometimes kindness returns as a lawyer carrying a file, sometimes as an expert holding a magnifying lens, sometimes as a journalist who refuses to publish before verifying, and sometimes it returns as one final plate of rice placed before a hungry stranger. Sade watched the young woman eat. Then she opened a fresh notebook. At the top of the first page, she wrote the date. Below it, she wrote the young woman's name. Then she drew a straight line and began again.